It's my pleasure to introduce one of the partners that Quentin was talking about. He's our partner and our colleague who works with us from the Texas Workforce Commission. They are great partners, and Doyle, I think you'll be able to tell after he presents it, after you hear what he talks about, you'll understand that they are really interested in helping high schools and middle school students find out about career information, find all kinds of career information. So we're really pleased with the opportunity to work with Doyle and his colleagues there at the Texas Workforce Commission, and you're going to find out all kinds of neat information from him and from them today. Doyle Fuchs has been the Director of Labor Market and Career Information at the Texas Workforce Commission since December of 2014. In this, his first venture into the production and dissemination of labor market statistics, Mr. Fuchs has reinforced the agency's commitment to produce reliable, accurate, and timely information on the state's economy. So they are the ones who keep their finger on the pulse of what's happening in terms of labor market information, the most up-to-date, timely information on what the trends are, what the jobs are, what our students can do to get high-quality, high-wage jobs. Here's Mr. Doyle Fuchs.
So good afternoon, and thank you, Dale, for that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody read quite that slow before. So, but no, thank you, and thank y'all for having me this afternoon. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here with y'all again this year. I had the honor of speaking at this same event a year ago, so and Dale invited me back, so blame him. As Dale said, I'm with Texas Workforce Commission, Labor Market and Career Information. Our department does two basic things. We produce and disseminate labor market statistics, and we provide resources for education and career exploration. And it's primarily that second bullet that, reason that I and my colleagues from TWC are here. And I guess the big question is for y'all is, why should you care? You've all heard the kind of worn out joke, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Well, we try to make ourselves think we actually are here to help. And I can't think of a group that's more worthy of our help than y'all. There's hardly anybody I can think of that has a bigger role in shaping the future of our state, and our nation, the world for that matter, than you educators. And any small little role that I and TWC can play to kind of move that effort along is to all of our benefit, and I'm just tickled to death to be a part of it. I spent most of my working life in agriculture. I got a degree in agricultural economics. Never thought I'd end up at TWC, but here I am, and loving every minute of it. It's a great job, great mission, and it gives me an opportunity to visit a bit with folks like y'all. From an education standpoint, career development standpoint, we can help you answer three kind of basic questions for students, their parents, other decision makers in that chain. What do you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up? What kind of opportunities are out there that fit my interest, that mesh with what I want to do? So what do you want to do? What's the market for that job that I want to do? Okay, so you hope to get paid for whatever it is that you decide to choose for a living, and you hope to make enough to support yourself and your family and whatever lifestyle that you'd like to lead. And then lastly, who's your competition? And that ties in with the market. How many other people are out there competing for the numbers of jobs that are available in the fields that I want to pursue? So we've got information and resources that can help you, kind of begin to answer those questions with the folks that y'all are working with. So as an economist, I'm obligated they'll take away my economist membership card and my secret decoder ring if I don't show you some charts and numbers, okay? But it provides us a little bit of context with what's happening in the job market and the opportunities for y'all students, okay? So first thing, there's two real high-level kind of labor market statistics that we look at, that we generate and use regularly. One is unemployment rate. Looking at Texas in the U.S., Texas unemployment rate traditionally runs, a little bit lower than the U.S. rate. A lot of times quite a bit lower than the U.S. rate. It's narrowed over the last year or so, and those numbers are real close together right now. We're not besting the U.S. rate by just a few tenths of a percentage point. And any guesses as to why? Oil and gas. Yeah, and that's the answer to a lot of questions, I guess, they're here before coming up. But the oil and gas downturn, the drop in oil prices, hasn't had a big impact on the Texas economy this time around than it did the last bust back in the 1980s. And so our economy's diversified quite a bit since then. We've got a lot more contributing to our economic well-being than just oil and gas. So that mitigated the impact somewhat, but not totally. We still have several 100,000 jobs attributable directly to the oil and gas industry, and then several hundreds of thousands more that support that industry. So when oil and gas hit the skids, it had to impact our job market and our economy. Okay, looking across the state, the counties with the largest civilian labor force, or largest job markets, looking at the unemployment rates for those counties, and some of those are incredibly low. We've got Travis County, Austin here at 3.4%, which is like, again, an incredibly low unemployment rate. The natural unemployment rate, if you will, kind of where equilibrium starts setting in, is around 4.5% or so. So anything below that is really getting into remarkably low kind of territory. The two counties that have the longest blue bars are Harris and Fort Bend counties, Houston, and then a suburb of Houston. And again, it's almost all directly attributable to oil and gas. Now, if you look at unemployment rates statewide, the lowest rates tend to be in those oil and gas counties, and counties along the Rio Grande River. So, also, the other kind of high-level stat that we look at is annual growth rates. How much is our economy and job market growing, compared to a year ago? We're still growing. Our rate during this last month on a year-to-year basis was 1.6%, a little bit lower than the U.S., but that gap is also narrowing. So we're starting to climb out of the hole we created with oil and gas, and starting to see some rebuilding and some return of the economy, or maybe bettering the U.S. numbers just a bit here before long. By industry, everything is showing growth or a positive growth rate from year to year, except oil and gas, and the other one with below the zero line is manufacturing. And that one's a pretty long trend. We've tended to be losing manufacturing jobs as our economy has diversified in a lot of other areas. We've lost some of that manufacturing base that we had. Talked a little bit about oil and gas, and it's really to me, interesting to look at the relationship between oil and gas prices and our growth rates, how many jobs we've lost or added. Back in the Great Recession, as we started losing jobs because of the recession, oil prices started going down, and they bottomed out at under $20 a barrel, which was just unbelievably low compared to the $130 a barrel that it had peaked at in 2007. Now, oil prices have recovered quite a bit since then, but they're still below kind of break-even levels for a lot of oil producers. Some of the surveys I've seen have said that once oil gets back consistently into the $50 to $60 a barrel range, we'll see increasing activity out in the oil patch and a faster recovery. I think yesterday crude oil prices were right at $50. So we've seen some recovery in our rig counts. Since 2014, when oil prices dropped, we lost 70% of the active drilling rigs in Texas and about that U.S. wide. Now, we had over 800 active drilling rigs in the state in about June of 2014. That's dropped to 245 this week. So each one of those oil rigs, of course, has shifts of workers that operate that rig, support services that supply that rig, restaurants and hotels that house and feed those workers, and then hundreds of thousands of support workers that go along with that, including pipelines and construction and manufacturing industries. So, and we weren't the hardest hit. There were some states, as far as their oil economy goes. North Dakota had seen a tremendous amount in drilling activity in their shale fields. And when prices cratered, they lost almost all those that activity. They're down to about 30 active rigs in the whole state. And they had built infrastructure around having that oil, and when it went away, it really hurt. So another rig count stuff that y'all can look at. Y'all have the presentations. Y'all can take a look at those. Okay, we kind of like to, our growth areas around the state tend to be in this triangle that runs from about San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and then back over to San Antonio again. That's probably the majority of our population now lives in that area, and a lot of our economic activity originates there. So along that I-35 corridor, we had to take a quick look at the growth rates in those economies. Laredo and Dallas on each end of that corridor are showing the highest growth. Okay? Laredo, because of the port. The Port of Laredo, that export facilities going into Mexico, is the largest inland port in the United States. And it continues to generate a huge amount of traffic and contribute a lot to their economic growth in that region of the border. Dallas, it's high tech, medicine, probably leading that, aerospace. Annual average wages ticked up a little bit from 2014 to 2015 for both the U.S. and Texas. Some historical perspective is kind of nice sometimes. Take a look at where we were and give us some perspective on where we're at now and where we may be going. So back in 1990, 26 years ago, there were just short of 17 million people living in the state of Texas. Civilian labor force, we had about 8.6 million of those people working. Unemployment rate was 6.3%, about 2 percentage points higher than we are right now. Our biggest industries in the state were manufacturing, retail, trade, and professional and business services. Accountants, lawyers, etc. Okay. Fast forward to now, 2015, we've got 25 by now. This is for 2015 calendar year. By now, we've probably got 26 million people in the state. 13 million in the labor force. That's a record high. We've never had that many people working in the state of Texas before. Unemployment rates are down to 4.5%, and our biggest industries have shifted to professional and business services, moved up a couple of spots, and then healthcare and retail trade. If you look at a map of the state as to what the biggest industries are, in almost every region of the state, healthcare has taken over as the leading industry. Okay? And part of that's because of population growth, and part of that is, we just keep getting older. Us baby boomers need a little bit more health care now than we used to. So we mine, and this is part of what our agreement with TEA helps us fund. we're able to mine online job listings through a wanted analytics service. And so as we look at our largest employers with the most listings on that Help Wanted Online, the top companies are almost invariably healthcare, high-tech, or employment service oriented. So it fits pretty closely with that industry growth chart we put up a minute ago. Looking out to 2021, about 5 years from now, we're expecting the economy in Texas to grow at 1.7%, a little bit better than what the U.S. economy is doing. The other thing that we do, and we just released a new set of numbers looking at employment projections out to 2024 with a 2014 base. Okay, so we're starting in 2014. What does job growth look like out to 2024? And our largest industry sector growth expected over that 10-year time period is in healthcare. Again, us aging baby boomers needing all the help we can get, and then professional business services, and the rest y'all can look at as y'all go back to this, if you do. Our fastest growing occupations by percentage growth, again, healthcare kind of dominates the top of the chart. Occupation therapy assistants, nurse practitioners, medical diagnosticians, and then we get into some high-tech fields, some labor workers, construction industry, and back into healthcare. By sheer numbers, the largest job growth is in what's traditionally very low, pretty low-paying, high-volume kind of jobs. Good news is that those of you that with kids are going to be going off to school, needing a summer job or needing a part-time job, McDonald's and Burger King should have plenty of openings. Fast food workers, retail sales, personal care assistants, and the highest paid, the first sort of kind of high wage kind of occupation we get into is registered nurses. And I'm going to fast forward through a few of these. So where do we and y'all come into play in all of this equation with the job growth we've got, with high healthcare type fields, some of the tech and other support kind of fields that are showing a large number of openings. We're seeing, and this is a quote from the CEO at Centerpoint, saying that jobs that they used to hire a lot of people with a high school education and a little bit of tech ability was enough to get your foot in the door. Now they're looking at, as a minimum, an associate's degree. Okay? So their education requirements have ramped up, and kind of across the board, it almost never fails. More education means more money. Okay. 94 of the top 100 paying jobs in the state of Texas require some sort of post-secondary education for entry into the profession. Not for continuing growth, but for entry into the profession. And 180 of the top 200 jobs require some sort of post-secondary certificate or credential. Okay. The largest non-degree occupations kind of mirror what we saw with some truck drivers, nursing assistants, medical assistants, mechanics, and y'all can, I know that y'all can't see these from where most of you are sitting, but as you'll notice, though, there's like a dotted red line vertical on here, and that's average wage for the state. As we move up in education level, more of those blue bars start moving over to the right of that line. And in our career development kind of activities that we do, among other things, we've got a career occupation information hotline that students can call in on and request information on up to 3 occupations per call. And we track the jobs that they ask about when they call. And so we can get some feel for their interest and what they think they might want to do when they get out of school. Number one occupation, requested occupation, is a web designer, a game designer. They all, love what you do. You'll never work another day in your life. I love to play video games, so I want to design video games. And the next is professional athlete. Number three, the medical profession starts showing up on the list. Is a little higher ranking than some of those have been over the last several years. Notably, high school teacher ends up at number 5. Something that y'all and your colleagues in the schools are doing must be hitting a chord because they want to be you. Okay? And then number 6 is always kind of interesting. You can see the impact of television. The number 6 profession on the list is a forensic science technician, CSI. Thank you, CSI. Now, what they don't tell you on TV is those jobs really don't pay a whole lot. So they're pretty much kind of minimum wage kind of jobs. So, and then number 8, everybody wants to be the boss right after school. My first job, I want to be CEO. Okay. Now, I'm an economist. I can't do one of these things without throwing a formula up with my chart. So I'll explain this, though. And it's really a pretty simple equation. Math, M plus science, and a post-secondary education equals more money. Okay. So kid wants to know the key to success after school. Stay in school, number 1. Take some math and science classes, and you're almost guaranteed, looking at our wage data and our job numbers, to make more money than somebody who doesn't get out of school. Okay. It's one of my favorite cartoons, a poor guy shooting free throws, and you'll see the further away. The lower the education level, the further away this guy is from the basket. With the high school dropout shooting free throws from under the opposing basket, and that's really labor market reality. As you move up this chart, education levels increase. Okay, so the bottom of the chart, the red bar is unemployment rate. And the green is average weekly wage. Okay, so as you move up, the highest unemployment rates are for those folks who didn't graduate from high school. You drop out, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a minimum wage job at best. Okay, now everybody reads the stories about somebody that didn't graduate from high school, and you want to be that one guy, but that was one guy. Okay. On average, all of those other people that you're dropping out with are struggling to get by every day of their life. Okay. So the message, graduate from high school first. Then you can look at other opportunities, but you got to graduate from high school. Okay. Median earnings by education level. Again, the high school dropouts are on the far left side of the screen. Average earnings, $19,000 a year. You ain't going to get much on $19,000 a year. But you're not going to talk like that either, I guess. But your future's pretty bleak if you drop out. And as you gain education, you start gaining income possibilities. Now, I don't think it's in this presentation, but I've got another chart. There's a lot of overlap between wages once you get out past high school. Okay? There are a lot of associate degree kind of jobs, or jobs that require a post-secondary certificate or credential, but not yet a degree, that pay just as much as some master's degree professions or some doctoral professions. Yeah. You can get a welding certification and go to work in a year making more money probably than any of us here in the room. Okay. So there are a lot of possibilities out there, but it starts with that post-secondary education. There's also some gender differences. And we like to think we're making some progress along this line, but there's still, in general, females make less money in the same industries than males, or in same education categories. If you're a female, drop out of high school, average median earnings is less than $15,000 a year. Again, that's not much to live on. Now, there's some socio-economic reasons for why those wages may be lower or whatever, and we won't get into that. But you know, again, message that continue your education, whatever your situation, whatever you need to do to get out of high school and continue that education beyond is well worth it. And there's other reasons, and you know, we pound, you know, the making money and your future income and those kind of things when we talk about continuing education. But it also, continuing that education contributes to a better quality of life. Okay, you're making a little more money, you're happier with what you're doing, you can be a little bit more satisfied with your situation and enjoy life more fully and a broader range of things than if you cut that education off too quickly. Last few slides, and then I need to turn it over to my colleagues for the fun stuff. They're going to show you some of the tools and applications that we've got and how those work. But we've done some survey work and some development research, primarily with some folks from Texas State Technical College on soft skills. You know, professional employment skills, workplace basics. They go by a bunch of names, but kind of the one that, you know, we hear most often is probably soft skills. So what are employees looking for? Come back up here on you just a bit. They're looking for some specific skills. They want some sort of hard skill. They want something, a credential, something that shows you can do a job. You know, so a skill. Okay, education attainment, relevant work experience, and that may be internship. It may be through some other vehicles or high school jobs. That job that you had at McDonald's in high school, it shows an employer that you can work, that you can show up on time, and that you're willing and able to work. And then soft skills and social competency is the fourth kind of leg in the chair. Chevron, the quote, and again, this is one of those that's got, and I'll read it. Years ago, we hired people from the neck down. We wanted strong backs. Now we hire people from the neck up. So they need people who can think. Doesn't matter what job they're in, but they need people who can think on their feet, who can work independently, who can do their jobs without somebody looking over their shoulder the entire time they're there. The other thing we hear a lot from employers, difficulty in finding qualified people, is they got to pass a drug test. You know, that's probably number 2 on the list, you know, or maybe number 1 in some areas. That's statewide. It's not a big city problem, or not just a big city problem. It's everywhere in the country. Or in the state. So on the social skills side of things, on the soft skill side of things, there's a few that kind of rose to the top in the survey work we did. Communication skills, written and oral. That includes the emails that you write. Critical thinking skills, problem solving, a pleasant and positive attitude. You know, nobody wants to work with Mr. Grumpy. Teamwork, you want to be able to get along with others and function in a team, follow directions, and that includes stuff like showing up to work on time. If you get a half hour for lunch, take a half hour for lunch, you know, those kind of things. And then the ability to focus with all of the distractions we face every day, you know, from social media, the music plugged into the earbuds, you know, the open work environments. You know, most of us started out life where, you know, with an office or with a little, you know, a few people in a room, and now a lot of workplaces are very open, very noisy. There's some companies that don't even give their employees desks anymore. You get a table, and it's got wheels on it, so you can roll your work table and form these little ad hoc work groups. Now, I think Facebook is one of those companies. Adam Zuckerman, the head of Facebook, whatever his name is, that's his desk, that's his office. He's got a white table with wheels on it and his computer's sitting there, and he wheels it around to wherever he needs to be to work. We talk a lot about career ladders and career pathways. The reality is, and a lot of times it's a career lattice. You move up and over, sometimes down, then you come back up again over the course of your career. So it's not this lateral move like when my dad started to work after World War II. He went to work in a manufacturing facility as a machinist, and he worked his way up to deputy plant manager. Very linear kind of career, same company. People just don't do that very much anymore. And so we need to maybe look at that career ladder as more of a lattice. Maybe it does require some sideways movement at a time to get to where you ultimately want to be. Last but not least, we've got a number of resources that are available to you. You're going to see some of those in a few minutes. And you can sign up for those or for news and information about those products and services through our Gov Delivery email service. Just about any place on our website, there's an icon for Gov Delivery. If you'll click on that, you can sign up with your email and what your interest might be, and you'll get regular emails and alerts from us when we're doing things like webinars and training opportunities in your area, that kind of thing. So we've got a number of web-based tools that are maybe of interest to you and your teachers and counselors. The Texas Reality Check, the first one I've got on the list there, is very new. We launched it the 19th of September. It replaces our old Texas Cares application, which is our career and education exploration tool. It's still undergoing some refinement, and we're adding features almost on a weekly basis to that, but it's texascareercheck.com. Texas Reality Check is our budget calculator, and it really does give not just students but adults sometimes too a reality check on just how far their dollar can go and what kind of income levels they meet and may need to support the kind of lifestyle they want. Folks, in just a minute will be showing you these applications, but all of these are out there as tools for you, your students, parents, as resources to help identify those jobs and those career paths and those, hopefully a very successful future for you and for your students. We also still offer a number of printed publications, and you can order those through our information hotline. Again, we've got a table out back that's got information on how to order these publications and get to the materials, and then also some samples. And again, what can we help you answer for students, their parents? What do you want to do? What's the market for what I want to do? And what's my competition for whatever this is that I want to do? So, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. As always, it's a pleasure to be able to maybe contribute in some small way to what y'all are doing to help shape our future. So thank you very much for what y'all do, and thank you for your time. So.